sort of the mountain bluffs at the northern edge. Is that where we are now?
No, it's sort of, you probably have to head just a little bit east. We're sort of on the edge of it. We're sort of, I can see them from where I'm sitting now. I can see the western tiers up my window. All these mountains up here too, you can come up here. They're not high, but you can come up here, and I've been fly fishing up here in the middle of January, which crosses our summer, and it snows, you know. And a lot of people get caught out in Tasmania because they come here and they go hiking and stuff, and they go out in the middle of summer, and they get caught out without having appropriate gear. Sort of needs really, anyone who wants to hike Tasmania has to, even if they're coming in the middle of summer, has to prepare for like -0, you know, like 0 degrees as well, like sub-0 degrees. Otherwise, don't head out on any of these trails.
This is a nice area.
Yeah, they've lost a few people that have, you know, gone out for a nice summer's, gone out for a multi-day walk, and, you know, 25 degrees Celsius on the lowlands, you know, and they've gone up here and got caught out in like, you know, -3, -4 degrees Celsius.
It's wild. That actually one of the points we'll come to talks a little bit about the climate is, at least in that particular town, is more like Reykjavik, Iceland, is like a comparable climate.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to laugh when they were talking about Georgetown and the beaches and stuff like that. Like, don't get the idea that it's like an Australian beach that you see when you look at the pictures of Queensland, because I love the ocean, but I've only been swimming in it twice in 20 years. It's so difficult. Because we're fairly, you know, we're reasonably far south. You know, 40. I think where I live is about 46 degrees south, 47 degrees south, something like that.
I think I heard someone was going to say something. Sorry if I cut you off there. Alright, well, let me play this Great Western Tiers waypoint, which just gives a little bit more context on the area. And it looks like, at least in my iPad app that tells me terrain, it looks like we're going to clear everything at 4,700. But we'll see where we go. So here's Great Western Tiers.
The Great Western Tiers are a collection of mountain bluffs that form the northern edge of the Central Highlands Plateau in Tasmania, Australia. The bluffs are contained within the Tasmanian Wilderness World Heritage Site. The bluffs stretch northwest to southeast over 100 kilometers from the 1,420-meter western bluff near the town of Mole Creek to the 1,210-meter Miller's Bluff, approximately 25 kilometers west of Campbell Town. During the late 19th century, the tiers were known as the Great Western Range.
All these little lakes we're flying over, you know, people come out here and catch, like, you know, people have come out here to these lakes and caught like 10-pound plus brown trout, like wild sight fishing, you know, like, because they're all fed. You come out here on the right sort of day with a set of Polaroid sunglasses and like sight fish to eat trout out here. But you have to be pretty fit. I've only skirted around the edges of it because it's, yeah. But I've got friends that they head out here for like multiple days, and there's just thousands of little lakes that you can fish, and every single one of them's got trout in it. Yeah, they're far and few between, but they're big ones and worth it. A lot of them.
This is really pretty.
Yeah, this is nice out here.
It's so funny. I'm realizing that because I pre-fly all these, and so I don't. I think this is the first time I'm having like a brand new experience via flight like this. It's pretty cool. Should go.
I come up here sometimes and just fly around in a float plane, a little
Nice.
one, you know, like the Zenith or something like that, and just come up here and land in some of these lakes. And there's, I don't even think they're allowed to land helicopters up here though. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't land. You're not allowed to land a plane in any of these lakes, or you're not allowed to. I don't even think you're allowed to land a helicopter. So if anyone needs to get out, wants to get out here, they need to walk out here basically. These whole lakes out here.
That's for conservation.
Yeah.
Kind of curving left here. We're gonna head over to the edge of this big lake. Tezzy, Al, do you know why the ground is this sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It looks kind of reddish almost. Just got like some pretty cool texture.
Yeah. No, not really. Not really. I mean, you know, most of this area we're flying over at the moment, so I don't know what shows up in the, you know, when you get down in the sim, you'll see some taller trees and that. But pretty much, there's very few things out over in the middle of the Western Lakes area that are like taller than that you can't stand and see over the top of. Basically, this is sort of for Australia. For Tassie, this is like high altitude stuff. Like it's above the snow line where we're flying now, and yeah, we don't have a lot of trees out here. Once you get a little bit more west, you'll start to get some more trees in. But you know, when I go out here fishing and that, you can see there's nothing you can't look over the top of.
Got it. Yeah. Good suggestion. Thanks. Do you hear that foghorn then? Over like
I have heard it before,
once a
yeah.
week? Okay,
I
yeah.
have heard it when you know, when I go out there, of course, because I live like probably, you know, 50 kilometers away from
Got it. Okay.
from there. I live basically, you know, I'm not far. As the crow flies, probably 6 or 7 miles from the Western Tiers, at the bottom of the Western Tiers.
It's pretty interesting to read about because it sounds, at least the group that did the conservation effort on it, that foghorn is the only one of its kind in the world anymore, like a specific type of foghorn that makes it that specific sort of like tone to it.
Yeah.
Sort of like tourists come from all over to hear the foghorn go on Sundays.
Yeah. Yeah, the east coast of Tassie's nice too. There's some famous spots down there, Wineglass Bay and places like that that are really nice to fly over as well. There's actually lots of nice flying around here in Tassie. Right.
This is very nice scenery.
Yeah, yeah, it is. The World Update made a huge difference to it. You know, I flew around here before the Australia update, and it was okay, you know, but after the update, it was just made a massive difference to it.
Well, I should play some of these points we're passing. So this town that we're just turning over right now, a little bit of registration history. So I'll play that one. I'll see where we're at. Also, the lake behind us is called the Great Lake. And that also has a bit of interesting info. So here is first the town.
Mina is a small town at the southern end of the Great Lake in the Central Highlands of Tasmania, Australia. At the 2016 census, Mina and the surrounding area had a population of 87. Accommodation around Mina includes lakeside hotels, self-contained lodges and numerous shacks. Mina is well known for lake fishing and its hydroelectric dam. Mina is one of the coldest non-alpine locations in Australia with its cool summers and cold, damp winters. Mina has an altitude-influenced subpolar oceanic climate, a classification quite unusual for an Australian town, being climatically very close to other towns with subpolar oceanic climates, such as Punta Arenas in Chile and, to some degree, Reykjavik in Iceland.
We'll play that Great Lake. Oh, you go.
I love what you pointed out, the pronunciation. In Australia, we pronounce it Myena. Myena, not Mina. Yeah, Myena, not Mina.
Thank you. Yeah, keep calling those out because I screw up enough pronunciations. It'd be nice to get some.
That's all right. It's
correct.
just if I can pronounce it, if I know, what it is, and because Bush Talk Radio is awesome, but because it uses like that digitized sort of voice, it doesn't get all the voices, it doesn't get all the pronunciations right. So just handy. I always like to know personally if I'm playing somewhere else and someone says something, I like to know what it's actually called, not
Not the Bush Talk interpretation.
Batman Bridge.
Oh, Batman. That makes more sense.
Well, Australian pronunciation. That's the way we Australians say it. The Batman Bridge. That's what I'm doing. I'm having some. I just updated my Xbox, and I updated. I think we're running out of power for some reason. What's going on? About to crash into Georgetown. I haven't been on for a little while, and I've just updated like the firmware on my controls and all that. So I don't know how reliable my thing's going to be.
Sort of an experimental flight.
Yeah. I was going to get on earlier and do it, but I've been playing like way the hunter a lot.
Well, I'll play this a little bit on the I keep saying Batman. Batman, thank you. Batman Bridge. So that is a model point. We'll just go over it really quick, and we got a bit of ground to cover today, so I'm going to keep flipping along. But here is the Batman Bridge.
The Batman Bridge is a modern road bridge that carries the Batman Highway across the Tamar River between Whirlpool Reach, Hillwood at its eastern end, and Sydney, Deviate Midpoint at its western end, in North Tasmania, Australia. The bridge connects the Batman Highway with the West Tamar Highway and the East Tamar Highway. The bridge overlooks the Deviate Sailing Club and is named in honour of John Batman, a Launceston businessman and co-founder of Melbourne. Built between 1966 and 1968, it was the first cable-stayed bridge in Australia and among the first such bridges in the world. The main span is 206 metres long, suspended from a 91-metre-high steel A-frame tower. The deck is 10.3 metres wide.
One more. So I want to play the Georgetown waypoint here, which was the town that we flew over between that Mohead area and Batman Bridge. Here is Georgetown.
Georgetown is a large town in northeast Tasmania, on the eastern bank of the mouth of the Tamar River. The Australian Bureau of Statistics records the Georgetown municipal area had a population of 6,764 as of the 30th of June 2016. It is the regional centre of the Georgetown Council local government area and is well served with a regional hospital, supermarkets and infrastructure. When, in 1811, Governor-in-Chief Lachlan Macquarie toured Tasmania, he moved the existing settlement here and named it Georgetown after King George III. The populace was reluctant to relocate, and building the town in earnest did not begin until 1890. Because of the need of maintaining a defensible position at the mouth of the river, regardless of the notional main settlement location, the Georgetown area has been continuously occupied since 1804, making it one of the earliest European settlements in Australia. Georgetown is a popular seaside destination for swimming, surfing, and fishing and boating enthusiasts. It is also home to a little penguin colony at the nearby beach at Lower Head.
There we go. First couple of points on here. Anything, Al, that you want to add? I don't need
Not
me to put
really,
you on the spot.
no. Not really. I'm still trying to sort out my flight.
No worries. I also mentioned Yeah, the route that we're doing, this Tasmanian Trail, it sounds like it starts in Devonport, which is...
Devonport, yep.
Yeah, Devonport, thank you. So that's a little bit, it's on the coast to our north, maybe at 2 o'clock now. We aren't going to go all the way up there just for time. But if you're curious, the actual trail goes from there and down. And if you go top of the site.
I missed at the very start. What was this trail? What's the trail about on this one? So,
Yeah,
so
it's the Tasmanian Trail. Which apparently, I'll pull up the information on it actually. It's sort of an interesting one. I didn't realize this until I was researching for this flight, but there's apparently a lot of really, really cool long trails around Australia.
Yeah.
One of them being like the Bicentennial National Trail is on the mainland. But anyway, so the Tasmanian Trail was opened in Tasmania sort of as a response to the mainland Bicentennial Trail. So saying, hey, we should have a trail. Yeah.
Because it's sort of a weird one. It's sort of, I had a look at it and it sort of skirts around all my favourites. It sort of like zigzags around, like missing all my favourite spots in Tassie.
That's so unfortunate. Like cities or like what?
No, like terrain, like areas. Like it skirts around the Central Plateau Conservation Park, which is like the Western Lakes, which is probably, I think it's probably one of the most beautiful spots of Tassie. It's a lot of, like there's just thousands of little lakes there, and it's like they go out there hunting trophy trout. Like, yeah, it's probably my favourite spot in Tasmania. And it sort of scoots through around. We sort of fly around it, and we go the other side of Great Lake. It's on the western side of Great Lake.
This area. Yeah. It doesn't. The actual trail doesn't go through there.
Yeah. That's probably mud, and that's probably my favourite area of Tassie. Is there.
I'm wondering, because we're already going to be pushing it on time, so I've already been kind of thinking maybe we should cut that corner off anyway.
Well, you could.
Like a double road.
Yeah, you could sort of deviate. If you deviated from from waypoint 11, and sort of went to waypoint 17, you'd probably waypoint 18, you'd fly over the Western Lakes.
Let's do that. That sounds fun, actually.
As
And
I
I
say,
do like.
it looks okay in the sim, but it's just as I say, it's just really nice, and there's, in my opinion, it's my favourite spot.
Let's do that. No, I think that sounds good. And I did explore that area a little bit. It was pretty. I just basically stuck to the original route that the trail went, but I think that'll add actually a lot. Plus, we can still hit the Great Lake and then come back around.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like you can pretty much even fly from like waypoint 10 to waypoint 16.
Yeah. That's good.
Would be a nicer flight. Yeah, my sim's really weird. I don't have the top menu at the top or anything. I don't know what's going on. Like the drop-down menus and that, I don't have any of that. Bring up my maps or...
Cool, thanks, Al.
No worries. And all the sort of, nice area to fly around. The Wild West is nice area. Like down there, Lake Gordon and all that area is really nice.
Yeah, I was seeing that too. This definitely won't be our last Tasmania flight.
one of the, very remote. There's like that whole sort of bottom, pretty much half of the state is pretty much unsettled. There's only 500,000 people in the whole state. So, and on the, there'd only be a few thousand in that. There wouldn't even be a few thousand. There wouldn't be a few hundred in that bottom corner there. Once you get sort of below Strawn, Queenstown area and that, there would be a few hundred people there, I imagine. Very remote.
As I say, I want to ask you about Hobart in a second too, but so I'm kind of curving into this canyon just to fly along the dam here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to turn that.
No, you're good.
Weezy. No, I was just talking to Weezy. I had to restart and I didn't know
That's all good.
so just ignore it. Sorry. Okay, yes, say what you were going to say. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was going to play, so I'm going to play this waypoint. So this dam is one of the modeled points through this. We'll just go quick through, but it's kind of a fun one, especially if you're in like the Mustang or something like that. And then we're just going to curve along the lake here. I'm actually going to play 3 waypoints back to back. So I'll play the dam first. I'll play a bit about the lake, and then the last one I'll play is this town just off to our left. You can kind of see it in the distance. We won't fly super close to it, but it's kind of an interesting area. So we're also going to change that flight plan that Al and I were just talking about. So that corner is going to come up here in just a second. So essentially, I'm going to stay about 2,500 or so. Fly along this little airstrip out in the woods. You'll see it kind of painted on the ground. And then once we fly over the ridge there, then I'll start to change my direction a little bit, basically heading a little more south than usual. Okay, so here is the Devil's Gate Power Station. That's that picture.
The Devil's Gate Power Station is a conventional hydroelectric power station located in northwestern Tasmania, Australia. Part of the Merseyfield scheme that comprises 7 hydroelectric power stations, the Devil's Gate Power Station is the 6th station in the Rannoch River scheme. The power station is located below the double-arched concrete Devil's Gate Dam which forms Lake Barrington. Water from the lake is fed to the power station by a 150-metre single penstock tunnel. The dam received a historic engineering marker from Engineers Australia as part of its Engineering Heritage Recognition Program.
And then, that town that I mentioned is just off our left wing now. It's sort of behind us as we turn along this runway. So here is Sheffield.
Inspired by the story of Chemainus, a small Canadian town that had through mural art rescued itself from ruin, the Kentish Association for Tourism worked on a vision to combine the arts and tourism to revive and reinvent the town of Sheffield. Sheffield has become a major tourist attraction due to it being promoted as a town of murals. The first town mural was painted in Sheffield in December 1986. Since then, over 60 murals depicting the area's rich history and beautiful natural scenery have been painted on walls throughout the town and buildings along the roadside. The murals attract an estimated 200,000 people to the town annually. A number of studios are open to the public where visitors can watch artists' work. There are artists of many disciplines, including photography, fine art, glass, woodcraft, pottery, ceramics and specialized crafts. The International Mural Fest art competition has been held annually since 2003 and returns in April each year. A poem is selected, which the artists use as their inspiration. After each competition, the 9 finalist murals remain on display at Mural Park until the next competition. In 2012, an interactive mural and workshops were added to the artistic activities of the festival for the Mural Fest 10th anniversary celebrations. Sheffield also hosts the annual 2-day Tasmanian Medieval Festival every October. The festival includes sword fighting, fencing, archery, jousting and demonstrations of working cannons and trebuchets. The festival has grown in popularity since its inception, with 4,000 people attending the event in 2018.
Right, there's a bit about Sheffield. So my heading here is about 155, and that'll take us over a series of lakes, which is in this region that I was talking about. So I only have one waypoint for this part. It takes the record for, I think, the most simple model point I've seen. It's sort of just that tower in the building. But I do want to play a little bit about it. And then I'm going to fly out over the bay here a little bit. You can see some of the islands off in the distance that Tazmania was talking about. Let me play these 3 different waypoints real quick. So this first one is that ABT is that tower. And then I'll play Hobart. And then last I'm going to descend here down to the waterline. And we'll fly along a bridge that's down in the river. So here is the music.
ABC Television in Tasmania comprises national and local programming on the ABC television network in the Australian state of Tasmania on a number of channels under the ABC Corsair. There is some local programming from the Hobart studio. ABT was the historic name of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation's television station in Hobart. ABT was the first television station to transmit in Tasmania, although from 1956, with the beginning of television transmission in Melbourne, it was possible along the northern coast of Tasmania, in favourable meteorological conditions, to receive television signals from Mount Dandenong, immediately east of Melbourne. As well as these 2 nominal stations transmitting programs from ABT, there is an extensive network of translator stations performing the same function. Their purpose is to provide improved signal reception in areas with poor or no reception from Mount Wellington. They pick up the on-air signal from the Mount Wellington transmitter and rebroadcast it on another channel. The broken terrain and scattered population of Tasmania has necessitated a relatively large number of translator stations, even within the Hobart urban area, for example, Tarooma.
That's interesting. With Taziel, you were saying earlier about sort of, there's a lot of people living in small groups all around, that they have the EV network specifically for it,
Yeah.
Alright, the next one is
for this state, there's only 500,000 people in the whole state, So it's good down here. I like it. After the hustle bustle of Sydney, and like cities and that, it's nice down here.
the change of pace,
Yeah.
So the next thing we'll play is Hobart, which is a photogrammetry city, actually. So I'll kind of take a low pass along it. Some of the cliffs on the water side here are really pretty, so part of the reason for getting low is just check out on the left side. Like I said, Hobart, and then I'm going to fly up to the bridge, which is a modeled bridge. I'll play that waypoint as well. And then our last destination is just to east. And there's 2 airports right next to each other. We're going to the southeasternmore airport, although either one of them is probably right here is Hobart.
Hobart, Hanawakana, Nipaluna is the capital and most populous city of the Australian island state of Tasmania. Home to almost half of all Tasmanians, it is the least populated Australian state capital city, and second smallest of territories are taken into account, after Darwin, Northern Territory. Hobart is located in Tasmania's southeast on the estuary of the River Derwent, making it the most southern of Australia's capital cities. Its skyline is dominated by the 1,271-metre Mount Wellington, and its harbour forms the second deepest natural port in the world, with much of the city's waterfront consisting of reclaimed land. The metropolitan area is often referred to as Greater Hobart, to differentiate it from the city of Hobart, one of the 5 local government areas that cover the city. Founded in 1804 as a British penal colony, Hobart is Australia's second oldest capital city after Sydney, New South Wales. Prior to British settlement, the Hobart area had been occupied for possibly as long as 35,000 years by the semi-nomadic Mamuna tribe, a subgroup of the Nuenamans, or Southeast tribe. Whaling quickly emerged as a major industry in the area, and for a time Hobart served as the Southern Ocean's main whaling port. Penal transportation ended in the 1850s, after which the city experienced periods of growth and decline. The early 20th century saw an economic boom on the back of mining, agriculture and other primary industries, and the loss of men who served in the world wars was counteracted by an influx of immigration. Despite the rise in migration from Asia and other non-English speaking regions, Hobart's population remains predominantly ethnically Anglo-Celtic and has the highest percentage of Australian-born residents among Australia's capital cities. Today, Hobart is the financial and administrative hub of Tasmania, serving as the home port for both Australian and French
I'll go onto
Antarctic
this bridge.
operations and acting as a tourist destination, with over 1.192 million visitors in 2011 to 12. Well-known drawcards include its convict-era architecture, Salamanca Market and the Museum of Old and New Art, the Southern Hemisphere's largest private museum.
Last but not least is the bridge that I see some folks going under. I'm going to try that same thing here. So here is the... here you go.
The Tasman Bridge is a bridge that carries the Tasman Highway over the Derwent River in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. Including approaches, the bridge has a total length of 1,396 metres and it provides the main traffic route from the Hobart city centre to the eastern shore. The bridge has a separated pedestrian footway on each side.